नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 4, Text number 12. Shivaya Lokasya Bhavaya Bhutaye. Shivaya Lokasya Bhavaya Bhutaye. Yaha Uttama Shloka Parayana Janaha. Ya Uttama Shloka Parayana Janaha Jivanti Na Atma Artham Aso Parashrayam. Jivanti Na Atma Artham Aso Parashrayam. Mumocha Nirvidya Kutaha Kalevaram. Mumocha Nirvidya Kutaha Kalevaram. Shivaya Lokasya Bhavaya Bhutaye. Ya Uttama Shloka Parayana Janaha Jivanti Natmardam Aso Parashrayam. Mumocha Nirvidya Kutah Kalevaram. Shivaya Lokasya Bhavaya Bhutaye. Ya Uttama Shloka Parayana Janaha Jivanti Natmardam Aso Parashrayam. Mumocha Nirvidya Kutah Kalevaram. Of all living beings, Bhavaya for flourishing, Bhutaye for economic development, Ye one who is Uttama Shloka Parayanaha devoted to the cause of the personality of Godhead, Janaha men, Jivanti do live, Na but not, Atma Artham selfish interest, so that Para Ashrayam shelter for others, Mumocha gave up, Nirvidya being freed from all attachment, Kutaha for what reason, Kalevaram mortal body. Translation and purport by Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Those who are devoted to the cause of the personality of Godhead live only for the welfare, development and happiness of others. They do not live for any selfish interest. So even though the Emperor Pariksit was free from all attachment to worldly possessions, how could he give up his mortal body which was shelter for others? Please repeat the translation. Those who are devoted to the cause of the personality of Godhead live only for the welfare, development and happiness of others. They do not live for any selfish interest. So even though the Emperor Pariksit was free from all attachment to worldly possessions, how could he give up his mortal body which was shelter for others? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Pariksit Maharaj was an ideal king and householder because he was a devotee of personality of Godhead. A devotee of the Lord automatically has all good qualifications, and the emperor was a typical example of this. Personally, he had no attachment for all the worldly opulences in his possession. But since he was a king for the all-round welfare of the citizens, he was always busy in the welfare work of the public, not only in his life, not only for this life, but also for the next. He would not allow slaughterhouses or killing of cows. He was not a foolish and partial administrator who would arrange for the protection of one living being and allow another to be killed. Because he was a devotee of the Lord, he knew perfectly well how to conduct his administration for everyone's happiness, men, animals, plants, and all living creatures. He was not selfishly interested. Selfishness is either self-centered or self-extended. He was neither. His interest was to please the Supreme Truth, the Personality of Godhead. The king is a representative of the Supreme Lord, and therefore the king's interest must be ideal with that of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord wants all living beings to be obedient to him and thereby become happy. Therefore, the king's interest is to guide all subjects back to the kingdom of God. Hence, the activities of the citizens should be so coordinated that they can, at the end, go back home, back to Godhead. Under the administration of a representative king, the kingdom is full of opulence. At that time, human beings need not eat animals. There are ample food grains, milk, fruit, and vegetables, so that the human beings as well as the animals can eat sumptuously unto their heart's content. If all living beings are satisfied with food and shelter and obey the prescribed rules, there cannot be any disturbance between one living being and another. Emperor Pariksit was a worthy king, and therefore all were happy during his reign. Presents the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. There was some disturbance coming from the audio, please check. So here, Pariksit Maharaj, inquiry about Pariksit Maharaj, the fourth question is asked here today. Shivaya Lokasya Bhavaya Bhutaye. He is Shivaya for the welfare of whom? Lokasya, of entire people in his kingdom. Bhavaya Bhutaye, and for their economic development and happiness also. Ya Uttama Shloka Parayana Janaha. One who has taken the shelter of the Supreme Lord, or one who is always conscious of the devoted to the Supreme Lord, he is for the welfare of all the above living entities. Jivanti na Atmartham. And he is not for self-interest. Na Atmartham. Jivanti, he is not for any selfish interest. Also Parashrayam. And he is for shelter for others. He is not living selfishly, but he is giving shelter for others. Mumocha nirvidya kutak kalevaram. Then why did he give up his body, which is shelter for others? Para ashrayam. Then how could he give up his body? So this was the final question asked by the sages of Naimisharanya to Suta Goswami. Says, those who are devoted to the cause of personality of Godhead, ye uttama shloka parayanaha, live only for the welfare, development and happiness of others. Shivaya lokasya bhavaya bhutaye. They are mainly for supporting other living entities, for their welfare, both in this life and for the next. They do not live for any selfish interest. Jana jivanti na atmartham. They do not live for selfish interest, na atmartham. Even though Emperor Pariksit was free from all attachment to worldly possessions, nirvidya, how could he give up kuta mumocha kalevaram, his mortal body which was shelter for others, also parashrayam? So this is the specific question that was asked. So the purport Prabhupada was explaining, a devotee of the Lord has all good qualifications. So what about the qualities that were mentioned till now? They were 7 in number from the last 5 verses. First thing was, he had inherited his kingdom. He was a great emperor with all the opulences inherited without any effort. Because Pandavas, they had captured the entire world and he inherited it. Then he was doing well in administration. He increased the prestige of Pandu dynasty, Puru dynasty specifically. Entire family members were glorified. Not just he is a descendant, but he proved himself that he is an able administrator. Then he commanded respect. All the kings would bow down and pay their taxes willingly. The enemies felt more secure with him by surrendering unto him rather than opposing him. Then he was full of youth and strength. Then he was full of piety. Therefore, kingdom was full of material prosperity. That we saw in the last verse, how the entire material elements were supporting in abundance. Food, grains, milk, even minerals, timely rain, everything was in abundance to proficient. Then he was shelter for others. He was fully detached and no selfish interest, but his life was devoted for the cause of the Supreme Lord and thus for welfare and happiness of others. Parashrayam Shivaya Lokasya Bhavaya Bhutaye. Then, being a devotee, he had all good qualifications. So these are the 7 qualities what were glorifying Pariksit Maharaj in the last few verses. So therefore, the king is the representative of the Supreme Lord, and the king's interest must be identical with that of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord wants all living beings to be obedient to him and thereby become happy. Therefore, the king's interest is to guide all subjects back to the kingdom of God. So what is the duty of a king? To see that they live comfortably here, or to give an opportunity for them to spoil their lives at their own choice and waste this human form of life. So clearly it is saying his interest is with the primary interest of the king, primary interest of the Lord. So he is known as Naradipaha, a representative of the Supreme Lord in the form of a king. Being a representative of the Lord, it is his duty to see that everybody abides by the instructions of the Shastras. So everybody follows the rules and regulations, and everybody are comfortably seated. So why they are what is the necessity of comfortable seated? Because if they are comfortable in this life, they will not become envious of other living entities. They will not try to pounce upon other living entities. They would not like to encroach upon other living entities. So in that way, they are happy here, and by following the rules and regulations, they are assured of going back home, back to Godhead in the next life. And if all the living entities are satisfied with food and shelter and obey the prescribed rules, there cannot be any disturbance between one living being and another. This is the prime principle, being satisfied with food and shelter. Then, and follow the prescribed rules. So once a person is satisfied with all the basic necessities and he follows the rules and regulations, then there will be no more disturbance between one category of living entity and another. This is how the entire Vedic system was divided. The king was seeing that everybody were maintained properly and everybody follow the rules and regulations. A person following the specific dharma of an ashrama, he has to follow that rule specifically. If somebody is claiming to be a Brahmana, he has to follow all the rules and regulations of a Brahmana. So see that there was no unemployment at that time. Everybody is engaged. Because idle brain is devil's workshop. It will start trying to disturb others in the society. So see that there was no ideality and everybody does their duty properly. This was the prime duty of the king. Emperor, basically he is the emperor, not even a small. He was the entire emperor for the whole world. When he got to know that Kali had entered his kingdom, he had so much managed his kingdom in such a way that there was no place for Kali to stay. Kali had to come back and beg forgiveness and say, please give me an opportunity. So Pariksit Maharaj maintained his kingdom so nicely. So in one purport, Prabhupada explains about Pariksit Maharaj. As already described, Maharaj Pariksit was a great devotee of the Lord from his very birth. And so was Shukadeva Goswami. Both of them were on the same level. Although it appeared Maharaj Pariksit was a great king, accustomed to royal facilities, whereas Shukadeva Goswami was a typical renouncer of the world. So much so that he did not even put a cloth on his body. Superficially, Maharaj Pariksit and Shukadeva Goswami might seem to be opposites, but basically they were both unalloyed pure devotees of the Lord. When such devotees are assembled together, there can be no topic save discussions of the glories of the Lord or Bhakti Yoga. In the Bhagavad Gita also, when there are talks between Lord and his devotee Arjuna, there could not be any topic other than Bhakti Yoga. However, the mundane scholars may speculate on it in their own ways. The use of the word Cha after Vayasaki suggests, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, that both Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Pariksit were of the same category, settled long before, although one was playing the part of the master and the other was the disciple. Means physically to say, he may be appearing like a king with all the royal appearances. The other one was like a sage who was renounced such that he was not even wearing a cloth on his body. He was naked. But both of them are unalloyed, pure devotees of the Lord. So both of them were in the highly detached state. One may be living with all the appearances, but without getting connected with or without getting carried away by any of the appearances. This is also explained in Bhagavad Gita, Padma Patram Evambasa. Krishna says a devotee, he has to lead his life in such a way that even though he is connected with everything, he is disconnected with everything. As lotus leaf is in the water, but lotus leaf is not connected with the water. That is the mentality of a person if he is planning to become a devotee. Even though he may be midst of all the appearances, but that appearances will not have a impact on his consciousness, or he will not be thinking all these appearances are for my sense gratification. They are only meant for the service of the Lord. I have been given this opportunity to engage them in the service of the Lord. That was the clear motive. And the mood of Pariksit Maharaj was also exhibited in the last part when he was cursed to die within 7 days. So, at the time he came to the river bank of river Ganges and he was seated there. So all the great sages across the universe, claiming some reason that we are going to purify ourselves by visiting Tirtha Yatra, they came to that specific location where Pariksit Maharaj and Shukadeva Goswami were about to discuss this Bhagavatam. So when all the great sages had assembled there, he glorified personally everyone, invited everyone and gave them a seat to sit down. Then he put forward his desire by saying, Tam mopayatam pariyantu vipra gangacha devi drutachitta mishe dvijopasrushtaha kuhakas takshakova dashatu alam ghayata vishnu gataha. So he is saying that he had achieved absolute fearlessness in this material world by having support of three things. This was possible because of three reasons. O Vipraha, O Brahmanas, just accept me, Pariyantu, as a complete surrendered soul. And let Mother Ganges, the representative of the Lord, because she is flowing from the Lord's lotus feet, she is represented like Vishnupadi, one who is emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord. Gangacha Devi may also accept me in that way, for I have taken the lotus feet of the Lord in my heart. Tam mopayantam drutachittam ishe. I have fixed completely the lotus feet of the Lord in my heart. So there is no other diversion for me. Let the snake bird or any magical thing the Brahmana created, takshakava kuhakas dvija upasrushtaha. That boy Shrungi, whatever he might have created, that magical bird, let it come and bite me at once. Dashatu alam. At once let it come and bite me. I only desire that you all continue singing the deeds of Lord Vishnu. Gayata Vishnu Gata. So, there were three reasons he is saying why he became fearless. One, in the association of devotees. Second, in the shelter of Ganga Devi, who is a representative of the Lord. And third, by continuously hearing about Krishna's pastimes. These three things have assured him that he has become fearless in his approach. He's saying, let that bird, whatever magical creature let it has been created, let it come and bite me at once. I don't fear. So the three aspects are, Maharaj Pariksit submitted himself as a complete surrendered soul unto the Brahmanas and to the Ganges. So, representative of the Lord unto the Lord. In that way, he is taking shelter of both. And he completely focused on Lord's lotus feet within his heart. So, by taking shelter of the devotees, by focusing upon the lotus feet of the Lord, and he expressed a desire to continue hearing Lord's glories from the sages. By these three things, he became confident that he could face any situation in this world. And the sages also glorify his position. They also know that he is also not a common man. He is an elevated, advanced devotee. They say, Nava idam Rajarshi Varya Chitram Bhavatsu Krishnam Samanu Vrateshu Yo Adhyasanam Raja Kirita Justam Sadyo Jahur Bhagavat Parshva Kamaha. They say, you are a worthy descendant of Maharaj Yudhishthira. They glorify him. The sages were saying, oh, Rajarshi Varya. So he is the best among the kings. Like how there is Brahma Rishi, Deva Rishi, like that Rajarshi. So he is the best representative of the Lord in the form of a king. Like Shishi Radha Govinda the king. And since you are one of the kings of Pandu dynasty, who are all strictly in the line of Lord Sri Krishna, Krishnam Samanu Vrateshu, means they were always following the instructions of the Lord and acting as one of the servant of the Lord. Krishna Samanu Vrateshu. It is not at all astonishing. Nava idam chitram. That you have given up your throne. Bhavatsu sadyo jahuriye adhyasanam. So you give your throne as if you have not bothered of the situation. You gave up your throne, family, relatives, treasury, everything which are very dear to one's life, you gave up as if nothing. Which is decorated with the helmets of many kings. Raja Kirita Justam. Because you have conquered many kings and which is decorated because of your capacity, and you have gave up so easily. For what purpose? Bhagavat Parsha Kamaha, to achieve the eternal association with the personality of Godhead. You wanted to become one of the associates, eternal associates of the Lord. With your desire, you gave up everything. So this is something like in second chapter, 59th sloka, Rasavarjam Rasopiyasya Param Drushva Nivartat. Give up something for a superior cause, something inferior. Because anything of this material world is inferior. This is temporary. To become an associate of the Lord is the highest thing. And since he is already an eternal associate, so he is trying to go back to his specific position. So when he was cursed, he immediately called his son Janmejaya and handed over to him the kingdom. But foolish politicians, not knowing the ultimate goal of life is to reach the Lord, they would like to occupy this temporary post till the last moment, thinking it as the highest gain of life. So many places Prabhupada also comments, they would like, see, when there is a retirement option, like if you take any IAS officer or any administrative category, any government employee, there is a retirement option. After 60 years or 62 years or 58 years, they say, okay, his brain is not fit. He is not capable for administration for further. But none of our politicians retire. They have to be forcibly retired by Kala. They have to be quit away from their post. They have to be kicked away. They don't realize that this body is becoming unfit. When a great administrator is not possible to maintain, what to speak of we, who are not qualified properly also. So, they don't understand the purpose of human form of life. They wanted to sit on that post till the last moment. That is the proper education which is not being communicated to them. They are not trained. If you have to be an administrator, you have to be properly be trained in the purpose. So devotee kings are well aware of dangerous glare of material illusory energy. And they know the nature of this material world. They say, Prahlad Maharaj compares the nature of this material world. It crushes one like a grinding stone. You know how oil is removed from seeds? So there will be a grinding stone, and in between the seeds are put, and it will be grinding, crushing you so nicely that oil is extracted. So like that in this material world, all our energies are extracted in this material world, like this material nature, illusory energy is grinding us and bringing out all our energies to waste in that direction. Next, this is like a horrible whirlpool with tossing waves. This material world is not a smooth ocean, it is tossing. There are two painful experiences in every species: separations from one's beloved and meeting with what is not wanted. This is the nature of this material world. Whom you feel beloved, you will be separated from them, and which situation you don't want to encounter, you will be forced upon it. Then, material remedies are more painful than the disease itself. In this material world, you try to counteract what disease with some remedy, that remedy is more horrible than the disease itself. This is the nature of material world. In reality, as explained in Bhagavatam by Prahlad Maharaj. See, but people don't realize this situation. So, the whole perspective is everybody have to be trained in the process. So then they will be able to execute their duties properly. Because one who is not trained, how he can give perfect judgment to the system, or how he can create something which will be favorable for everyone to advance in spiritual life. And because of this, the whole system, the whole perspective is lost. The purpose of human life is lost. And when somebody is become qualified with all the good qualities in this material world currently, we become proud of the situation. And with that pride, we try to decry others. And we'll start committing offenses in the process. So we see in Bhagavatam 4th canto, when Daksha and Sati and Lord Shiva, these three characters we see. Daksha, he was endowed with all the good qualities. But he had one problem. One day when he was organizing a sacrifice, when he visited, all the others got up, and at that time Lord Shiva was actually in meditation. He did not get up and give him respect. So Daksha became offended. He said, Shiva is my son-in-law. He is junior in nature. And he is supposed to get up and give me respect. I am a senior. But Shiva, he is more advanced than Lord Brahma. As a devotee, if you see, Shiva is son of Brahma. But Brahma feels Shiva is much more advanced than him. Brahma would give respect to Shiva, even though he is a son. But here, Daksha is expecting respect from Shiva. So he starts disrespecting Lord Shiva in the open assembly. So there it says, so Sati wanted to go to that sacrifice, but Shiva is saying, please don't go there, it will only be a problem. Because he could guess the mentality of his father. He says, Vidya tapo vitta vapur vayah kulaihi satam gunai shadbir asattameritaihi spruto hatayam brutamana durdarshaha stabdana pashyanti hidama bhuyasham. There are 6 good qualities one possesses because of his past pious activities. What is? Shadbir gunaihi, Vidya, education, Tapaha, austerity, Vittaha, money, Vapuhu, beauty, Vayaha, youth, and Kulaihi, heritage. The 6 qualities are because of doing punya karma, or for highly elevated satam. But Stabdaha, one who becomes proud, of asattam iritaihi, even though he possesses these qualities, but in a wrong way. Spruto hatayam, he loses his good sense. And brutamana durdashaha, he becomes blind because of these qualities of being proud. And na pashyanti hidama bhuyasham, he cannot appreciate glories of others. When somebody is proud of all these qualities, he will not be able to appreciate the good in others. So as milk becomes poisonous in touch with the snake, similarly all these qualities will become dangerous when one person becomes proud. He loses all his good qualities. So pride of one's accomplishment, background, envy towards others, wanting others to match our expectations are some of the causes of fault finding. Then there are different levels of fault finding what one will observe. Then Shiva further warns Sati that going there will be her death. You will not be able to tolerate. But Sati went to her father's place. When she was completely neglected by Daksha, she started speaking to Daksha by saying, Doshan paresham hi guneshu sadavo grinanti kechin na bhavadrusho dvija Gudamsha falgun bahuli karishnavo mahatamasteshu avidad bhavan agam. So he's saying, she's comparing between two personalities. One is Daksha and another is Lord Shiva. He's saying, oh Vipra, Vipra means one who is properly educated and trained. He's saying, oh my dear Brahmana, Vipra, Bhavadrishaha, a person like you, Grinanti doshan paresham hi guneshu sadavaha. Even though a person may be a sadavaha, you always try to find only faults with him. You are in such a mentality, you don't see any good quality in opposite person, you only find faults with him. But Lord Shiva, Gunamsha Falgun Bahuli Karishvano. If there is only a little good quality also, Lord Shiva amplifies in such a big way that he makes it look as if it is very big. That is the difference between Shiva and you. Even though there are heaps of mountain of qualities and there will be only a drop of bad quality, you see only the drop. But Lord Shiva, even though there is only a drop, he magnifies it to be a mountain. This is the difference between two mentalities. And Mahattamasteshu avidad bhavanagam, and you simply offend great personalities. That is your mentality. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains about this fault finding, degrees of fault finding. He says, asadu is the first thing, thinking that potentially good qualities will turn into faults. This is his first attitude, thinking that your good qualities will become bad. Then asadu tara, seeing the good and bad in a person but focusing only on the bad. Then asadu tama, magnifying small faults, completely neglecting the good one. Then finally, ati asadu tama, finding faults where there are none. So in these four ways, how that enviousness will increase. Even though there are no good quality, no bad qualities, you will start trying to bring out bad qualities in a person. So Lord Shiva, even though he is of the greatest nature, but you are decrying him of the highest category. Ati asadu tama. So he is inventing faults in Lord Shiva out of his own imaginations. So we have to be very careful, because whatever we have been bestowed with, like Pariksit Maharaj, he is also bestowed with all the wealth, everything and all. But he did not become proud in the process. He was always subservient to the devotees, and he has taken the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. So he has become fearless in his approach. And he is always for the welfare of other living entities. So Bhagavatam further describes, Kim durapadanam tesham pumsam uddama chetasam air ashritas tirtha padas charano vyasanatyayah. So what happens when you take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord? It says, Kim durapadanam tesham. What is difficult to achieve? Durapa, which is difficult to achieve. Pumsam uddama chetasam, for those who are determined persons. Here, Ashrita is Tirtha Padas, for who has taken the shelter of lotus feet of the Lord. Charano Vyasana Atyayaha, which can put an end to the dangers of mundane life. Means nothing is difficult for determined souls. If your determination is strong, there is nothing impossible word. There is no impossible, like Prabhupada says also, impossible is in the fool's dictionary. For a devotee, there is nothing impossible. For those who are determined, there is nothing which is an obstacle for them. And further it says, how do we gain this faith and determination? Bhagavatam further says, Etamsa astaya paratmanistam adhyashitam purvatamer maharushibihi aham tarishyami durantaparam tamo mukundangri nisevaya eva. So, by mukundangri nisevaya seva, by engaging in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, aham tarishyami, I shall cross over durantaparam, this insurmountable ocean of tamaha, this material world. By taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, I will be able to cross over this material world, the ocean of the cycle of birth and death. And etamsa adhyashitam purvatamer, and it was approved by all the predecessor acharyas. Maharushibihi astaya paratmanistam, who were fixed in firm devotion to the Lord, the Supreme Lord as Paramatma. So how do we gain this faith and determination? By following in the footsteps of previous acharyas. And practicing the process as explained, one can gain determination and faith. So there was one devotee of the name Uddaranadatta Thakura, in whose family Prabhupada had come, Suvarnavanik community. They were around 50 kilometers from Calcutta part called as Saptagrama. His original name was Dibakar Datta. His father's name was Shrikar Datta and mother's name was Bhadravati, and his wife's name was known as Mahamaya. And they have a son by name Srinivas Datta Thakura. So this is a story as per Chaitanya Bhagavata, which says, one day Nityananda Prabhu visited Saptagram and he had delivered many persons there. So at that time he took a bath at near Triveni Sangam there and sat under a tree, and being intoxicated, he started singing in a most melodious way. The sound attracted the young boy, Dibakar Datta, and he came, and when he saw Nityananda Prabhu, it reminded him of his eternal master. He is one of the 12 Gopalas, who are the eternal associates of the Lord, by name Subahu, who had come as Uddaranadatta. So when he went and took shelter of Nityananda Prabhu immediately embraced him and initiated him from Dibakar Datta to Uddharana Datta. Uddharana means one who is ready to deliver others. So he became a great associate of Lord Nityananda and he was engaged in his service. Because Nityananda Prabhu was preaching there everywhere and he is converting everyone towards Vaishnavism and taking shelter of the Lord, there were some caste Goswamis, caste Brahmanas who became offended by the process. So they wanted to come and debate with Nityananda Prabhu, and they have wanted to put him down in his perspective. They came as a group and they started debating with Nityananda Prabhu that Jnana is superior to Bhakti. But Nityananda Prabhu didn't want to defeat them so easily. So he was arguing and he was giving quotations from Shastras and all, but they were all also not getting satisfied. So it was lunch time. So Nityananda Prabhu said, see, we have got exhausted. Now all of us go, take bath, come back, eat some prasadam, then we will continue the discussion in the second half. So the Brahmanas also went, took bath and they came back and they inquired from the people there who is cooking. Then they heard that Uddaranadatta Thakura is cooking. So they became offended. Because a caste Brahmana would not eat food not cooked by other than another Brahmana. So he became offended and he started scolding and started creating a ruckus that no, this is not a proper way. One should not eat food cooked by somebody lower than their system. Then Nityananda Prabhu started giving references that food which is offered to the Lord is indifferent. It is not of any qualification because Krishna had accepted that prasadam, it is worthy to eat. So food cooked by Vaishnavas is of the superior in nature, like that he gave substances. They were little pacified when they sat down. Then again Uddharana was personally serving the food. When they were personally serving the food, they became even more offended. That a person lower than caste, how he can serve and how we can honor. So they became so agitated, Nityananda Prabhu was unable to pacify them. So finally Nityananda Prabhu said, give me that serving spoon, what you are using it. So he took that spoon, wooden spoon, and he immediately planted it in a place. As soon as it was planted, that wooden spoon grew into a big malati tree with full flourishing flowers. And it was so fragrant that everybody's consciousness became so pacified just by smelling that flowers. And that Brahmanas were struck with wonder. They don't know what to say. They went forward, touched the tree, and they all became ecstatic in love. And they paid obeisances to the tree. And they came back to Nityananda Prabhu and Uddharananda Thakura, and they paid obeisances to them and they said, please forgive us. If a mere stick, which is a wood without life, had come to such a glorifying position that we have been deprived of that love of Godhead from many lifetimes, please touch us so that we will also become that devotees of the Lord. So by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, Uddharananda Thakura will encourage them into devotional service, and all of them also leave up their idea of jnana and become devotees of the Lord. And the tree, even today, it is existing. If you go to Saptagram, under the tree, there is Uddharananda Thakura Samadhi. Every day it flourishes, flowers, that flowers it showers onto the Samadhi, glorifying a great devotee. So that is the nature of the devotees. They are here for well-wishing of the other people. See, even though we may be negative, our birth, education, all these things and all, but all these things are all meant for glorifying the Lord and encouraging others to come forward and take that benefit. But this should not become an opportunity that we become proud and we lose the process itself. So great devotees in our parampara, and Prabhupada used to say, in his childhood they used to regularly visit the temple, because in their family descendantry only, all the Prabhupada, their family were Mullik's family, they were all from that descendants. They used to glorify the temple and they used to go and render service to the temple. Prabhupada wanted that devotees to be appreciated, devotees' leelas to be learnt, understood, so that we all also develop that devotion to the Lord. Irrespective of what background we are coming from, the sincerity in the service and their commitment, their devotion to the purpose is the one which will influence others. So I'll stop here. Any questions or doubts? Sadhana is the basic stage. Once you evolved from that, then you will come to the Raganuga Bhakti stage. No, practicing principles are there in Sadhana Bhakti. But when you come to the advanced stage, you will be able to perfect them without any rules. Like Prabhupada says, sadhana means we have to get up, oh, Mangalarti, somebody has to come and wake me up. Now it is time for Mangalarti, all these things and all. But when we are in the Raganuga Bhakti, we will naturally get up, body will go for it towards that services, and he will be fully be appreciating other devotees, and he will be exhibiting the highest category.
Calculation is wrong. As per Sadhana Bhakti standards, Shiva has supposed to stand up as per Sadhana Bhakti, as a Vaishnava etiquette. So is the Raganuga Bhakti, whether the principle exists or how to understand that dealing?
See, there Shiva clarifies, see, standing and giving respect is for body or to the super soul inside the body. He clarifies that respect is actually meant for the super soul. So since he is already meditating on the super soul, that he was separately, he did not give any respect to the material body. But and Vaishnava etiquette is Vaishnava. Shiva is much more advanced Vaishnava. And Daksha was a Vaishnava in the Kanishtadhikari stage, who was not able to discriminate between proper devotees. So, what he had done, justification is correct. That was which is approved by Lord Brahma. When Brahma went to pacify him, he gives the justification that whatever you have done is correct.
It's fine, Prabhu. Philosophically, it's correct. The point is, when it comes to, many times Madhpandit Prabhu also says, existential and experiential kind of, there are two ways, Vyavaharik level and philosophical level. As a Vyavaharik level, if there are many devotees also, they can also meditate on super soul. They don't need to get up in that case. But as at least Vyavaharik level.
But he's a certified Vaishnava. He's already proved his position. So he is beyond that rules and regulations. That's what we are saying.
Okay, because if you see Kalyana, when Lord Shiva's marriage happened with Sati also, definitely he would have followed all the etiquettes, what a father-in-law is supposed to do and what a son-in-law has to do. If that is not the case, then why this is something differently
No,
behaved
this
here?
is because he is becoming envious of the glorious position of Lord Shiva. He was not able to tolerate that everybody is respecting Lord Shiva more than him. He is more of materialistic person, of materialistic consciousness. He is doing these yajnas, all these things and all to get name, fame. Everybody have to respect me like that and all. He is in a material motivated person. But Lord Shiva was renounced personality. So it's like two persons of different mentalities. Negative pole to like North Pole and South Pole trying to meet there. It's incompatible situation.
And these Vaishnavas, Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttamadhikaris, Prabhu, generally the designation who will give?
Who will give means spiritual master generally they know how to discriminate. The Uttamadhikari they will be able to know who is of what category so that they will.
So generally, and at least Vyavahaka level, any times any spiritual master has given this kind of designation, Prabhu, just I want to understand.
Generally they know who is of what category, they treat them in that perspective. So generally, even, but devotees, they always treat themselves as minimum level. Even though like they are Uttamadhikari category, but they always feel that they are like insignificant servant. Mood and humility that they exhibit.
Okay, thank you.
ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंद.
హరే కృష్ణ గోల్డెన్ టెంపుల్ వారి మరో అపురూప కానుక హరే కృష్ణ వాణి ఆధ్యాత్మిక మాసపత్రిక. ఇప్పుడు మొబైల్ యాప్ ద్వారా కూడా సులభంగా పత్రికలు చదువుకునే సౌకర్యం, వార్షిక సభ్యత్వం, భగవద్గీత, భాగవత 3107700